when it comes to working with people who are coming our way as potential owner operators, it's really asking good open-ended questions. It's listening, and really stuff that, kind of like, how do you lose weight? Well, you diet and you exercise. Oh, okay. It's not just knowing it, it's doing it, right? And so I think the same thing comes when it comes to engaging with people. And it's just, being human and being honest and vulnerable is also super important.
This episode is brought to you by BackLooper. If you're tired of learning about guest complaints from online reviews, listen to this. It's time to protect your reputation while still getting valuable data so you can make enhancements to your guest experience. Using the most effective ways to generate responses, combined with intuitive reporting that quickly points out the largest issues, BackLooper enables you to strengthen your operations with superior guest experience intelligence that leads to higher satisfaction. Now more than ever, we need to bring our guests into the conversation so they can be a part of our industry's success. Get started today with no minimum commitment by visiting BackLooper.com or email me directly at josh@BackLooper.com. Welcome to the Attraction Pros Podcast, where we discuss the latest trends and challenges facing the attractions industry today.
We chat with some of the top leaders in the field and provide resources that will help develop your career in this great industry.
I am Josh Liebman, founder of BackLooper. I help attractions collect guest feedback and identify top priorities needed for improvement.
And I'm Matt Heller, founder of Performance Optimist Consulting. I help leaders lead so they can increase employee engagement and retention.
Now sit upright, hold on tight, and get ready for the Attraction Pros Podcast. Hey, Matt, how's it going?
It's going great, Josh. How are you?
I thought you were going to come up with some bounce, jump, spring into action type pun. I'm surprised, actually.
Well, not today.
Of all days, today would be a good day to do it.
I know, right? Yeah.
I was going to ask you, though, remember that one time we went to a trampoline park?
I do, and I couldn't get out of the foam pit.
That's right. And I just stood to the side laughing and pointing. That's great.
That was very kind of you.
Yeah. No, I think I also struggled with getting out of the foam pit. No, what I remember most, though, was at the end of 1 hour, we were both completely warped, except that was also the beginning of a very adventurous day where Attraction Pros took Chicago.
Yes. No, I do remember that. And I remember a couple of the activities specifically. Wasn't there one where we were kind of facing each other and we had to, or was it a competition? I
think we were playing basketball.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
it was, I remember it being the most exhausting 2 minutes of my life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Crazy.
Which is great that a trampoline park, this is going to lead somewhere with our guest today, by the way, if you're listening. But, with a trampoline park, there's so much activity that it really could be a workout as much as having fun.
Right. If I had one that was near me and if it wasn't currently COVID, I used to say I would totally quit my gym membership, but I already did that anyway back in March. But I would regularly go visit a trampoline park. Lately, I've just been running and Pelotoning, but yeah, it's totally a fitness activity. But the purpose of all this is that our guests today are Scott Benjamin and Matt Hubbard from Spot Manufacturing, and they're one of the top manufacturers of trampolines and trampoline-related activities for adventure parks. And we get to talk to them about that whole process of what it's like when you're installing a trampoline and continuing the ongoing maintenance and everything that goes that surrounds that aspect of being in that business or, making that type of purchase.
And what's really cool is, like every other business, they've had to pivot, right? They've had to change things. And one of the things that Scott really talks about is helping is the new marketing. And they have done sort of what we did when we started the COVID-19 video series. They started a podcast, which has been a huge help to the adventure park industry. And so we get to talk to them a little bit about that and why they did that and how that's helped and that kind of thing. And you can just tell that these two guys are people who, they just want to help. They just want to connect people. They want to be part of the community. They want to support. And I think you really get that vibe from them when you listen to them speak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So their podcast is Tuesday Townhall, the Adventure Park podcast. And you know how we know it's a good podcast?
Because we've been on it.
Among many other reasons, yes, we have both been featured on their podcast, and now we get to turn the tables on Scott and on Matt. So I'd say let's get to this incredible interview where we get to talk about FunSpot.
Let's bounce on over.
There you go. Matt and Scott from FunSpot Manufacturing. Welcome to the Attraction Pros podcast. How you guys doing today? Matt, how are you?
Yeah, doing well, Josh. Thanks for having us on. Really excited to talk about the industry and a little bit about our company today. So thanks for having us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, appreciate you guys having us on. Great to be here and good to see you guys.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining us. Really looking forward to this conversation. So if you can give us a quick overview of FunSpot Manufacturing to give a quick understanding for our audience, would you be able to share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So FunSpot actually started in Hartwell, Georgia. It's a small little town. It now has more than one stoplight, so they're moving on up. They're located on a lake in Georgia. And just quaint. It's always been kind of a small operation until recently when the trampoline park industry really got booming in 2006. But early on, they were making backyard trampolines. And so for years, that was a core of their business. And then when 2006 and Sky Zone came around, we started making mats and springs for them. We continued to do that until probably in 2013, 14. We started to build full indoor trampoline parks, sort of like what you would expect to see today if you went into, an altitude trampoline park or, a Defy Circus Trick Park. You'd see the entire trampoline park, dodgeball courts, foam pits, main courts. And then after that, we've continued to innovate. So FunSpot Manufacturing now actually does a lot of adventure equipment. So everything from zip lines to indoor soft play playgrounds, ninja assault courses, ropes courses. And then recently in 2018, we joined with a larger parent company, Abio, who also owns Clip and Climb, fun climbing. So now we're under the same umbrella as a huge, well-known, world-known fun climbing brand. So we kind of offer a complete indoor amusement and entertainment solution now.
So one thing I'm really curious about, because it's really interesting how you said, FunSpot started out making, backyard trampolines. And then in 2006, when this industry just first emerged, because it really just did not exist prior to that, clearly there was I would say a forethought that this was going to be a big deal. And I'm guessing that there were other trampoline manufacturers that probably said, this is just a fad, we're going to stick to our core, or maybe the B2C market versus, going into, to B2B to really build out these parks. So I'm curious, kind of like, what was it like during that time where it was just kind of just starting to emerge, and is this going to be a big deal or not, type of conversations?
Oh yeah. I mean, so I wasn't working for FunSpot back in 2006, but, rumor has it, talking to some of the leaders who were in this industry from the very beginning. I mean, the rumor was that this was just a fad and let's, pound the pavement and make as much money as we can. And let's ride this thing as long as we can. But it's clear now almost 14 years into this industry, it's not going anywhere. And even the trampoline part of what we consider a modern day indoor adventure park is still the anchor attraction to an indoor amusement park per se. So we don't think it's going anywhere, and it's only evolving. Every day we're looking at new solutions and new attractions, and engineering and designing new stuff to go into these parks.
Matt, you were talking about all the different activities that you have now, right? Under your one roof, of all those different things you can offer. And one thing that's always been fascinating to me is picking the attraction mix, right? So you've got the trampoline park, you've got the ropes course, you've got all these different things. I wonder if Scott or Matt, if either one of you could kind of walk us through kind of that thought process. If you are opening a new facility, you know, it's like a kid in a candy store, right? Which ones do you pick? Which ones do you go with? And how do you make sure you've got the best mix for your guests?
Yeah, I'll take a first stab at it and then kick it down to Matt. And I say down because in my Brady Bunch story, he's below me. So I'm not sure how it's going to come out in the recording. But, you know, design and the constraints of the facility are a big part of, you know, what you can put inside. And then budget obviously is going to be the next constraint. You know, we talk through our potential customers as they're deciding with some questions like, well, what do you see your target age group as? You know, you have anywhere from 4 to, you know, 2 to 10, 2 to 12, or are you considering, you know, you think you want your demographic to be more like the 8 to 18, because that's going to, you know, determine the kind of mix that you have and the difficulty of the kinds of attractions you have. And we have everything from the kids court and the soft play to the Ninja Warrior course that's 2 stories and is challenging and difficult. And then we have performance trampolines that are much more high end in sport. So it's really a discovery and a collaboration with the owners to determine what's going to be the best mix and fit. It's going to fit their budget and going to fit their building.
I also love looking at local competition. So it's rare these days that you're going to enter a market that you're not going to compete against somebody that may have a similar offering. So I'm kind of the nerdy spreadsheet guy who sort of has these list of attractions, and we'll go through and almost pivot chart like exactly what this place has and what that place has. Now, what do we need to do better? You know, what is it that we can put into this new facility that will create a unique offering for our client? Because, I mean, obviously our ultimate goal is going to be them and helping them be successful to hopefully grow and continue to innovate and renovate and add new things later.
So then how does that then lead into your innovation process when you're looking at the attraction mix and Scott, like you said, looking at the demographics and particularly what's going to align best with those you're serving. And then Matt, like you said, of looking at the spreadsheet and kind of here's the list and really finding that optimal point. I can imagine that leads to probably new ideas or new concepts that, you know, might go into your development pipeline. Can you talk a little bit about how that works?
Yeah. So it's funny, Matt, when I came on board, Matt was great at being known as someone who sold things we haven't quite manufactured yet.
Totally guilty.
So in a good way, in the best way possible. And so some of it is just that, you know, in discussions with our owners, they're like, well, what if we did this? What if we did that? Because there's sometimes some of the most creative people, and they know what they want. They have a vision and idea, and they're trying to articulate it. And because we're a custom manufacturer, you know, we're not a cookie cutter. We don't pull anything off the shelf. Everything is custom manufactured. We can make and ideate and develop new ideas really somewhat on the fly. I mean, it does come with its tensions and everything. You know, there's always that sales and operations tension, but it's worked out well. And it creates, you know, when we think about just the trolley on a zip line and how that trolley comes back, you know, well, there's lots of different ways it could happen. And so we put our guys to work to try and figure out the best way to make those kinds of things happen. And we're continuously improving on them. And then we go back and tweak and fix. And so that's kind of existing things. And then, you know, we're just looking ahead with our vendor partners and just looking at trends in the industry to see where it is that we can add value and we can add the Fun Spot kind of tweak to it for our customers.
You know, Josh and I had a conversation, well, it's kind of an ongoing conversation, but it started maybe a year and a half ago about combining attractions, right? And, you know, that sort of lends me, makes me think about some of the things that you guys have going on, the zip lines and things like that, and landing in a foam pit or something, whatever it is, right? That you're combining. And we joked about like a axe throwing on a trampoline or something like that. So I'm curious. That's not an endorsement. Let's not do that. But what
things that will never exist. I think it was a virtual reality axe throwing trampoline.
But I'm curious because you guys have been talking about, getting ideas from your clients and collaborating and things like that. Have there been just ideas that you were like, no, we're not going to do that? Like, cause I can see you but wanting to be very creative and like, giving it your all and doing whatever you can. But there's probably been a time where like, yeah, that's not going to work.
Yeah. There's loads of them in my tenure that I've been there. One that there's two that I can really think of. There's one that we wanted to build and design that would basically have a sensor built into the trampoline. And so when the trampoline, when you knew you landed, it would shoot you up in the air even taller, kind of like that effect of double jumping in your backyard. And it was going to be for more like skilled gymnasts, especially with the performance trampolines. We thought that would be a really attractive solution. But what we realized is there was just a lot more mechanical things that could go wrong with something which is usually a static trampoline without having much maintenance to it. And the fact that not many buildings are tall enough that would allow you to literally vault someone, almost through the ceiling. So there are some logistical challenges with that. And then the other one that I really like that I think had some legs, probably not so much anymore post COVID, now that foam pits are kind of frowned upon. But, the one thing that everyone talks about, especially adults, that they don't like foam pits, is they're hard to get out of. I'm a pretty fit guy. I've ran a marathon, but I don't want anybody watching me try to climb my way out of a foam pit. I have this like fear everybody's watching me and seeing me struggle, So we actually developed a pulley system that attached a rope and would sense when someone was holding on to it. They would literally pull you out of the foam pit to make that easier, to help for throughput as well. But we think the airbags are the way to go anyways now. So
it's almost like being rescued from a helicopter out of a foam pit. Kind of like that's what I think of. So I'm curious. Sorry, go ahead, Scott.
I was going to say, if you've ever been an operator and have tried to help an adult out of a foam pit, it's challenging. It's tough.
So I know we definitely want to talk about what the future of the foam pit is, but before we get, Matt, I'm wondering if you can expand on something Scott said a few minutes ago, and if you have an example of a time where you've sold something that hasn't existed yet, or kind of developed a product in the moment, for a client, or an example there.
Oh gosh, what have I not sold without having it? I think probably the one thing that really comes to mind is really the development of our 2-story Ninja course. It really hadn't been seen anywhere before. And a client was going into a market with another trampoline park opening within weeks of the other. And he's like, I've got to push the envelope. He goes, how do I make this thing extreme? And he's like, could you do a 2-story Ninja course and have a zip line coming off of it and a slide? And I'm like, heck yeah, we can. And I'm so guilty and just like getting energized by my customers' ideas. And also I do take advantage of our engineering and design strength. And I know as long as we can make it safe, we can build it, right? I have the confidence in our manufacturing strength that no matter what it is, we could build it and design it. So we really pushed the envelope to get that out. But now we've probably installed, at least 8 to 10 2-story Ninja courses, and really are one of the highlight products in our catalog. And then we really got pushed to do a lot of zip lines, and then really our Wipeout too. That was a product that was kind of pushed to us. An existing feature over an inflatable existed, but having an inflatable in a trampoline park doesn't really mix well. So our customers really pushed us to design this over a trampoline. So we really pushed hard to do that. And today that's probably one of our most popular attractions, is the trampoline Wipeout.
So let's for a second get back to the foam pit, because I'm with Josh. I want to kind of hear from the experts, like what you think the future is, besides not being able to get out of them, especially in the world of COVID. Where do you guys see this going?
Well, Scott, you're an operator, so I bet you're.
Yeah. So, in February, as COVID hit, it was the question, right? What are we going to do about foam cubes? They were already kind of thought of as dirty, at least by adults and operators, even though kids love them. And there's always been this love-hate relationship with foam cubes. Operators would rather not have them, but they know kids love them, and so they put them in. But then the idea of cleanliness and viruses and all that really just rose to the top. And people that were still open early on wanted to find a way. Can you steam them? Can you spray them? What can you do? And there really wasn't a good answer. There was no across the board solution because it's a porous substance that you just can't disinfect. And so what came out of that was, really putting a top cover over the foam cubes in the low impact side. As we follow the ASTM standards and look to make sure that we're upholding those, we realized putting a top cover over a trampoline entry foam pit causes some changes that would need to be tested and go through a lot of time that we didn't have. But we did determine that a top cover over foam cubes for falling over onto a battle beam or something like that would be acceptable. So we worked with a vendor partner to develop that, and that's been doing well. But long term, we just installed our first trampoline park that has 100% airbags. I'm not saying it's the first one in the industry, but for us, it's the first one that had no foam, not even in the kids kit. And I really believe that as we open back up in the new year, that more and more people are going to go that way. Matt and I have had this discussion many times about, do foam or don't do foam. And we feel like kids aren't going to miss what they don't have and haven't experienced. So if all they've ever known is an airbag for things to jump into or fall off on a stunt bag, we're not going to miss the foam. And one of the things we've done in the last 12 to 18 months is we started adding these vinyl covered soft play elements that kids can move. And what kids love to do with foam is build bricks and run through them, right? That's what, as an operator, that's what I saw them do all the time. So we've worked with our sister company, Speed, which is a gymnastics company, and we have all these great shapes and kids can build with them, and you can easily wipe it down. You can disinfect it very easily. And so that's filling the void in the small kid side for what would have been foam. So that's kind of how I feel it's going to go. I think having a top cover over foam is maybe a less expensive option currently, but I think eventually airbags are going to be the way to go.
So with the top cover, are you saying they would leave the foam pit intact as is, but now it would be covered?
Yeah,
so
with a foam pit top cover, it literally is the top cover of an airbag attached down inside the foam pit, fully covering, and it has a zipper so that you can unzip and fluff the foam underneath as you can see it, and check on it just like you need to do and keep your foam at a consistent level. But it's that soft touch satin top cover that has antiviral component to it. So it allows kids to jump into it, and it feels like kind of a cross between an airbag and foam cubes, but gives you that cleanliness factor.
We also worked hard to design it in a way where if and when you wanted to convert that foam pit fully to an airbag, that top sheet that you've bought to cover the foam fits on top of the airbag. So you've almost kind of paid a little bit towards the airbag already. It's sort of an investment towards an airbag later. And really the top cover was done out of a necessity that people were worried about the kind of money they were going to spend while they were closed and how soon, their business was going to pick up after COVID started to, wear out and people were going to come back to the parks. How soon was that going to, or how long was that going to affect their business? So we think that's a great solution, and many of our clients have switched to that today.
And some states have mandated, Virginia comes to mind, that foam cubes are not, the public is not able to interact with foam cubes. They've just said, if you have an attraction with foam in it, you can't open that until you mitigate against coming in contact with the foam. So their only solution is to top cover or replace with an airbag. And as Matt said, the top cover is a nice step towards it. So you're basically paying for your airbag in two different payments, which is nice.
Okay. What are you both seeing in terms of consumer confidence in coming back and, their feeling about foam or no foam, just coming back to the parks and coming back to the facilities and how that's affecting business?
Matt and I did a road trip going on about a month ago. We started in Greenville, ended up in Columbus, Ohio, and came back. And we saw about a dozen different parks. And so this is a month ago, and I know things changed quickly. But, we stopped in Sevierville, Tennessee. There's 2 parks there. It was a rainy Saturday, and they were doing well. They were at a reduced capacity. They had a line out the door. They were doing their social distancing, but, people were there. And then as we kind of made our way north, we continue to see varying degrees of success. Some of it based on just that locale. And then, across the board, we still continue to hear, 30 to 50%, some are increasing more. We have a park out in Montana that, they reopened very quickly because they're in Montana, is that right? Or are they in Wyoming? Wyoming.
Yeah.
They're in Wyoming, yeah. Wyoming, out west, big wide open country.
Lots of fresh air.
So yeah, much different than, a metro location, urban location. And so, I think, and as I talk to operators daily, overall, they say the trend is going up and to the right ever so slightly, week over week. And I think that's good.
Mm-hmm.
So those parks that are doing well that you mentioned, what are they doing specifically? What's what are they? I guess what are they doing right to be able to ensure proper consumer confidence and to get it to the capacity that they're able to operate at least?
Yeah, I think a couple of things that they're doing right have to do around how they stayed on social media throughout. I think that's been a big differentiator in those that have picked back up quicker than others. They stayed in touch with their consumers. They let them know. They communicated well, and they showed what they're doing that's different and new. We would always say as an operator, and I think our operators would say, hey, our parks have always been clean, but now we're visibly clean, right? We're showing you that we're wiping down. I just watched a social media post where a park hired somebody specifically to, for 8 hours a day, walk around with a bottle and a rag and wipe down all high touch surfaces. And so showing that through social media, through your advertising and marketing capabilities, I think has been, to me, the biggest differentiator in people coming back quicker because they know that you're open and you're safe. And then, promoting deals that get people to come back.
I think with a big part of our clients' businesses in a trampoline park or indoor adventure park is your birthday parties, right? Mm-hmm. And so you're not just considering one family's stance on whether it's safe or not to go in public and go to have a birthday party. You have to consider oftentimes 10 other families or 10 other individuals. And in general, it just takes a bit of time to build out that customer base to let them know that you're open and having birthday parties and how you're handling those. And so to Scott's point, I think that marketing effort on social media and even just email marketing is really what's making the difference between those who are doing well and doing even better than that.
Yeah, it's telling their story, right? And I mean, to Scott's point, we would all say that our facilities are clean, but are we showing people that we're clean, right? It's a whole different ball of wax. And Scott, you made a good point about the companies that are doing well have been the ones that have continued to communicate and continued to engage on social media. And that leads me, of course, to you starting the Tuesday Townhall Podcast. So I'm curious if you could kind of tell us a little bit about where that came from and how that's been going.
Great. I appreciate that question. So as everything started changing and no one really knew what the future held, we're all just kind of scratching our heads and hoping. We made a conscious decision that we wanted to add value and help the industry. And so, Zoom was kind of new. We kind of had used it, but we hadn't had to before. So we saw that was beginning to trend, and we said, well, why don't we just host a town hall? And that's how it started. And it started on a Tuesday. And so we invited the industry to come and to really just commiserate and share stories and best practices and what are you doing? And we had such a good reception that we came back the next Tuesday, and we said, hey, we think we have something. And so we just created it as Tuesday Town Hall. A product of the Adventure Park podcast is what it's now become. And at our peak, I would say probably around May, June, we were running over 100 live guests from all over the world, and it became a marketing. Helping is the new marketing, right? I think we might say, right? And so and our hearts were in the right place. We really just wanted to help, and what we found is the response from people who weren't our customers and had never engaged with us, began to engage with us. And we think that will, as the economy opens back up and the opportunity to build new parks and to expand existing parks will really help. So as parks began to open back up, we realized people showing up on Tuesdays at 2:00 Eastern probably wasn't going to be sustainable. So we closed the live Zoom and turned it into a recorded podcast. And we've had you guys on, we've had other marketing people, insurance guys, operators, talked about yesterday, this past week, we talked about hiring young people. We have a Chick-fil-A operator coming on next week who's going to talk some more deep dive about that. So we just feel like if we can add value and help an operator operate more efficiently and effectively, then we've done well.
Sure. And it's been great to listen to just from the, like you said, helping is the new marketing, and just hearing the content that you guys are putting out in terms of, it's very relevant, and it's so important in terms of just what it's like to be operating these days, and what are important things to take into consideration, when everything turned, Matt Heller and we started a video series in addition to the podcast, just say, let's just put out more content and talk to more people and try to figure out what's going on. So, it was a very similar mindset.
It's been really neat to see how the industry and you guys and some of the other, some of our competitors even have really drawn together. I mean, I think we have stronger relationships with our competitors today than we ever had, because we've all got to try and figure this out. And so we've had conversations, and that's been helpful. And, just really getting out there together has been something. I'm not a podcaster. You guys are, a year and a half or 2 years ahead of us. And so just kind of learning, having a script and having your questions ahead of time and all these things, we're beginning to learn. And then you guys really helped out when I fell into a gap week of not having anybody, and just put a big LinkedIn post saying, help, I need somebody to interview. I lost somebody. So it's been a great learning experience. Probably one of the neatest things I've got to learn during this whole thing is this whole podcasting skill, and it's still learning.
Yeah, and what I've enjoyed too is not just learning the podcasting skill, but learning from so many different people, and kind of doing these podcast crossovers, because, we were on your podcast, you're on ours. Josh just today, at the time of this recording, his appearance on the Skip the Queue podcast was out there. And, one of the things he talked about was all the things that he's learned on the podcast from, great operators and great manufacturers like yourselves. So we look at this also also as a way to just, expand our own knowledge. Like it's not just us interviewing someone. It's like we get to listen to these amazing people talk about how they run their business, and we're taking notes, and we're trying to see how we can apply that to us as well. So that's been a great sort of learning for us along the way as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I know you guys have talked about on your podcast, so I'll use this as a transition and segue here, and that has to do with kind of the continual upkeep and maintenance of, once you purchase a trampoline, I guess, or any of your products. The question would be, now what? I'm guessing it's not just a one-time purchase, but can you talk, about some of the aspect of the ongoing safety inspections that goes into purchasing, a trampoline or any adventure park product?
Yeah, that's a good tee for me up. So I think one of the things that really kind of set FunSpot apart originally was a lot of the operational training and maintenance training that we provide when you first buy a park. And I think that provides such a huge value, but it's flawed, right? Because you're working to train this operator or owner of a park who at that time is drinking water from a fire hydrant, right? It's going literally out one ear, out the other. And even when we send someone on site before a park opens to train them on, how to replace springs or how to put on a new trampoline mat and what to do, how to respond if there's an injury, and give them these best practices, there's even a lot of turnover after that. And then, up until this point, Scott can hit on this a little bit, but, once we leave and continue to stay in relationship with our customer in terms of replacement parts and other best practices, a lot of things that get left off is, and which is also just an ASTM requirement to do inspections on your equipment to make sure it's in good order before operations on a daily basis, was often to do that on paper, right? And then if it came up that you needed to refer to that back at any given point, there was this huge burden to track down, okay, did I do it this week? If I did, where is it? You've got file cabinets full of waivers and injury reports and daily and weekly inspections that you're trying to keep up with. So we really kind of we were brainstorming about a year ago as we were wanting to develop our own training content. So we were mostly looking to solve the training component. How do we provide our clients that training component after the sale? We still want to go on site. We think it's important to have that face-to-face training, but how do we solve that piece? And then along the way, we got really connected with a software that was in final stages of development that was going to tackle that other piece that we had down in our roadmap a long way. But we thought this was a really great time to kind of pair them together and really just bring something to the industry that we knew was needed and people were asking for. And so that's where the creation of Zumba comes in. So Zumba is an application that you download on your iPad, soon to come for Droid, and you can have it on your iPhone. But it's a QR-based inspection program. So you'd expect to walk out into your park on a daily basis and go through the daily inspections that you would for all your attractions. So you'd go up to the attraction, you'd scan a QR code, you would take a pre-inspection photo and answer the manufacturer's questions about how to determine whether that attraction is in good operational order for that day. And then the great thing about it is if something is a failed item, it automatically fills out a maintenance ticket. You can CC other people in the park. You can CC your manufacturer. Yeah, even though we've paired with and we're a manufacturer of equipment with Zumba, you could have your own manufacturer. It could be another trampoline park manufacturer included on there, but it could automatically send that maintenance ticket to them. That way, we're being more proactive about reaching out to our clients about, hey, we saw during your daily inspection today, there was a tear in a trampoline. Here's the replacement cost of this if you don't already have one in your spare inventory, and we could have it overnighted to you if you need it. That's the kind of responsiveness that we want to be able to provide to our clients. And then on top of that, it's got a learning management system that allows all their staff to take all the video training that we've developed. It's about an hour and a half to 2 hours of content, depending on what attractions that you have in your park, that go over everything from safety, attraction rules, how to replace a trampoline mat, how to do the inspections that you're doing in the park on a daily basis, and then quizzes to go along with that. And all of those are compulsory in order to actually do the inspections. So you can't complete an inspection until that's done. And then on top of that, sort of icing on the cake is giving a digital platform for incident reports and then employee write-ups. And we're continuing to develop that even more with a roadmap that includes kind of a Zumba maintenance team. So if you need something that you done in your park that you can't do locally, that you need our help, we'll have a maintenance network that you can order up somebody, show up in a kind of like Terminex, like a, pest control service. That may be a poor analogy, but they show up at your park, they fix what's going on, and it's all ordered from the app. And even with an Amazon parts store, if you need more springs, you need a new replacement mat, you can just press order. Here's how fast I need it, and it just ships it straight to you.
That's one of the things that I talk to owners about when they approach us is, as I say, you think you're buying an adventure park, but really what you're buying is a risk management business, because so much of what really has to happen behind the scenes for those kids to have fun has to do with risk management. Mm-hmm. And that is something most owner operators, as they're considering, don't really understand. And when it comes to the way that they do their daily and weekly maintenance and how they record that, in the almost 2 years I've been with FunSpot now, and the 6 years plus before that as an operator, I can see a big difference in the park owners and GMs who really get that and execute on it well, and those that don't. And there's just there is a difference in that. And so we believe that it's of high importance and really is a requirement as an owner based on ASTM requirements to submit these regular inspections and incident reports. We as an industry in the kind of the adventure park industry suffer a little bit from not having historical data and good data in to make good decisions. And as a manufacturer, we start to get more and more data back as we should have been getting around either injuries or incidents, then we can make potential changes to our equipment to mitigate against those. And so this type of app really helps deliver that feedback to us more efficiently and makes it easier for the operator to take care of those daily and weekly, and provides accountability. One of the things I think is of most importance is that there's accountability. In a paper-based system, there's not an email back to someone above you, an owner or a GM, if there was an inspection missed. I mean, and so frankly, it could go 2, 3, 5 a week before missed inspections. And if anyone's ever been in a lawsuit, you realize that your prosecuting attorney is going to say, well, if it was important on April 1st for you to do an inspection, and April 2nd and April 3rd, what happened the 4th, 5th, and 6th, and you did on the 7th, and my client was injured on the 5th? How come you didn't inspect? And so that's why I say you're buying a risk management business, and you've really got to execute well and own up to the fact that that's a responsibility as an owner. So probably be a much longer answer than you expected, but I think it's important to say.
No, it's really interesting.
Yeah. No, I love how in-depth that was, and really how holistic that whole piece sounds. Like, everything from, the training of someone doing the inspection to the actual recording of the inspection and the accountability, it just kind of really brings the whole process full circle. And I can tell you, I've not been part of those lawsuits, but I have been the one. Where is that inspection certificate or the inspection sheet from, July 4th? Where is that, right? And then when you get it, it's this nasty piece of paper with coffee stains and smudged out signatures and stuff, and you just can't make heads or tails of it.
We actually have to realize we have attractions. This might not be the Hulk at Universal, ride that, I got to believe And I got to believe that those guys are inspecting that multiple times a day, you know, and documenting it. Well, we have that same responsibility to the public to make sure our equipment is in safe and operating order every day.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things I'm curious of is because we've been talking about obviously safety and, you know, kind of where we are with COVID right now, but I want you to think about, you know, 2021, 2022, where do you see the adventure park and the trampoline park industry going during that time?
I think there'll be a bit of a collapse over the next 6 to 12 months. We're already starting to see it. Where parks are closing for good, which is going to increase the secondary market of used equipment. Again, we're already starting to get calls of people who are purchasing used equipment and want to know what it costs to move it and reinstall it and, you know, get all new soft goods so it's rebranded and stuff like that. So I think some of that kind of collapse will happen. I think that'll allow some people to get in at a lower cost of entry, but there are some challenges, and we've talked about that on one of our podcasts around the challenges of buying used equipment. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's just not. And but then I think, you know, I think, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but my opinion is that it'll continue to grow. I think out of home entertainment is part of what we domestically love, and I think globally. You know, getting out and about and being active and just the combination of technology and active entertainment with virtual reality and augmented reality and active entertainment type things, I think are just going to be a good mixed use type facility. I think we'll continue to see and already starting to get calls about adding mini bowling and karting and trampolines and virtual reality and you know, putting all those type of activities under one roof. And with the, you know, expansion of the availability of commercial real estate, you know, theaters, you know, those are large boxes and other big box retailers being open in malls. I think they'll be filled with entertainment opportunities out of the home.
Yeah, I have to believe in 2021 and 2022 that as difficult as it is to say this, there will be parks that close. But those that survive and exist will continue to adapt and evolve and add these new attractions. We're already seeing that, like what Scott was saying, that the evolution of what it means to be an indoor adventure park is going to continue to add more attractions that even outside of what we do. And I think the reality is, I think we can all agree that we don't like staying at home, you know, and, you know, birthday parties outside the home for that same core demographic that we cater to now will always be there. You know, we tried birthday parties at home. I had one, it was in June, and I had it at home. I had a virtual session with friends. It just, you know, wasn't for me, you know, so I would have much rather gone bowling or out to a restaurant or something like that. So that's here to stay. And even back in 2008 to 2010 with the downturn economy and the housing bubble, trampoline parks were really successful. You know, people didn't necessarily have the money to go spend at a Disney World or take a trip overseas or a cruise or insert whatever high dollar kind of vacation that you might have as a family. And instead they spent their money locally with their local entertainment. So I have to believe the same will be true for our indoor adventure industry as well.
How will the franchise model, I guess, help either support that, hopefully support it, or will that be a detractor in any way? Because obviously trampoline parks or adventure parks is such a franchise heavy business. And do you think that the success of the industry will be largely dependent on, you know, or how much of it dependent on the franchise organizations and how much on more independent, family owned and operated, independently owned and operated?
My feel on that is that it's probably not as franchise heavy as you would think in the trampoline side of things. I think it might be 50-50. You know, we build a lot of independent parks for guys and couples and families that own 1 to 3 parks that kind of have their own group of parks. You know, the franchises that we build for and the other franchises that we don't, I think they will have some challenges, and I think they realize that. I mean, they've got to really show how they're adding value to their owner operators. That makes sense for them to do a franchise versus opening an independent park. So I think it's I think it'll be a little bit of a slugfest for the franchises that are out there right now in our industry. With that yet to be determined. Obviously, we want to build for everybody, so we want to play nice in the sandbox with them all. But I do think that franchise parks will have a bit of a challenge in the short term versus someone wanting to open up an independent park. But again, that also goes to the personality of the entrepreneur, right? I mean, some entrepreneurs are just going to be tend toward a franchise because that's what they feel more comfortable with. But the franchises are going to need to step up and what they are providing for that money that they're paying for.
Gotcha. So Scott, and Matt, as we're sort of winding down a little bit, Scott, I have a specific question for you that really I'm hoping will give us insight into how you build relationships and your side hustle as a marriage coach. So yeah. I'm curious how that knowledge and expertise helps you in what you do in the adventure park world.
I'll give a short background as short as I can. So I've just always been a relationship guy, right? I mean, I think our world kind of rises and falls on relationships. And at one time, my profile basically, even on LinkedIn, said it's all about relationship, right? So everything we do is helping build a relationship towards health, or it's tearing it down, right? There is no static, right? I mean, if we're static, we're going backwards, in my opinion. And so, in a marriage relationship, same thing. I mean, if you've got to be investing and growing. I've been married 31 years, and even today, I've got to work hard toward making sure I'm communicating well with my wife and my children and all of that. And it's just it's an ongoing thing. And so, when it comes to working with people who are coming our way as potential owner operators, it's really asking good open-ended questions. It's listening, and really stuff that kind of like, how do you lose weight? Well, you diet and you exercise. Well, okay. It's not just knowing it, it's doing it, right? And so I think the same thing comes when it comes to engaging with people. And it's just, being human and being honest and vulnerable is also super important, I think. And, Matt and I, we travel really well together and have a great working relationship because we found that in many ways we're basically the same person. I'm just 20 years older than he is. So so relationships matter to both of us. And when we lose for whatever reason an opportunity, we hope to maintain that relationship. So it's not all about the sale. And going back to the Tuesday Townhall, again, that's not all about the sale. That's about building relationships with people and helping them, regardless of what return I'm going to get. And I get it. We've got to sell to make money to keep our factory working and employ people. And so all that is very important. And I definitely keep that out in front of me. And if you saw my whiteboard right in front of me, you'd see all the different things that we're doing to go help close deals. But at the end of the day, it's relationship. And I appreciate you bringing that up because I do love and think that marriage relationship is the foundation of our communities. And so whenever I get a chance to help them, I do.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Scott. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, thanks for asking.
Cool. Excellent. No, that was really interesting. So as we kind of wind this down, can you tell us a little bit about if people want more information on FunSpot, if they're curious about, is it Zumba or Sumba? I know it's spelled with an S. I don't totally know how to pronounce it.
Yeah. So Zumba with a Z would be that exercise.
Right. That's why I asked.
So yeah, Sumba. Yeah. So
okay.
yeah, you got it.
So if they want more info on FunSpot or Sumbo, where would you send them?
Yeah. So it's pretty easy. Just funspot.com. That's where that kind of branches out to all the different things that we kind of have our hands in. From there, you can find our, I think, townhall.funspot. Correct me if I'm wrong, Scott. Townhall.funspot.com.
That's right.
And then from there you can also link to the Sumba's website where you can get more information there. There's a contact form there, but my email address is just my first name, Matt@funspot.com, real short and sweet. And we would just love to connect with everybody. Scott was super humble in his explanation of the marriage counselor, but he's a relationship guru. And I because we're so alike, I feel the same way. And we just want to connect with people and hear their stories, and figure out how we can help and fit into that story. So we would love to connect with whoever wants to reach out to us.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Kind of our elevator speech is, we get to help entrepreneurs realize their dream of owning an adventure park. We get to walk with them from concept to reality. And that's what we derive our joy from, as far as what our day-to-day interactions with people are. And I'd be remiss if I didn't quickly say, we recently pulled together through our Avio group of companies, FunSpot Europe. And so I don't know what the reach of your podcast is, but if someone's listening in the European region, we do have a sales team able to meet your needs in Europe. So you can link to that through funspot.com under About Us, and find out more about our European sales team as well.
Perfect. Great. We will include all those links in the show notes. So we want to thank you guys so much for your time today and for sharing all this incredible info on the Attraction Pros podcast. And make sure to tune in for those listening and watching to Tuesday Town Hall. Great info, great content on that podcast. But for right now, Matt and Scott from FunSpot, thanks so much for joining us here today. And to everyone out there, just remember, we are all Attraction Pros.
Thanks for listening to the Attraction Pros podcast.
Make sure to subscribe so you can tune in when new episodes release. And even better, please leave us a review on iTunes.
For more information, visit attractionpros.com.